Kicking the fly cliches, doing duets with Ray and A happens to make my day, though I'm tired of buffing off knots having to rock shots. But I'll rock shots with my man if we got to go on the secret creep right down in the seal crawl right now, because we're bringing back the vet for the Army of Two. It's Hacker Hamin, Special Ops Infidels on the Impact Attack here, Hamin Media Group. YOLO! Yeah, man, this one I've been looking forward to. Excited. It's late night, Friday night. We just finished the SmackDown Live self-help group, and hopefully people join us here at twitch.tv/Hamin Media or Ben Hamin channel, and I'm pumped to be back with my OVW brethren. It's been a big OVW day for me, man. I got to hop on the Rip Rogers FR podcast with Dr. Ted and Rip for a little while. Then today on Developmental for Two-Man Power Trip and Hamin Media Group's Patreon. We had Adam Revolver on, a rare appearance, and just he killed it today. And obviously I'm back here in the trenches with the Sergeant at Arms, the vet, man. Good to be with you, bro.
Man, it's good to be with the man, the namesake of Hamin Media Group, you know. So one of the things I try to teach Colin Wysong, my producer, is it's a staple of the business as old as the business, which is if you can't deliver on your advertised product, you got to come up with something equal or greater value. And what's greater value than the man that the platform is named after? So I appreciate you being here today, Ben. Yeah, we'll get into this Impact here, but what's Adam Revolver been up to lately?
I mean, he's really going hard in the paint, being, Al Snow's right-hand man, new ownership in OVW with a guy who's got a lot of public connections, media ownership, and they're really working hard on getting more localized CBS, Fox affiliates, which is doing great things for their draw when they can do long-term business on the road, and it's just great to see him, as always, a computer mind for wrestling, a true genius who's worked under Al Snow, Jim Cornette, Danny Davis, Rip Rogers, and now has been at OVW for going on 15 years and has produced over, I don't think Power's ever taken time off. I think he's produced about 700 shows, man. So a Hall of Fame level of production and every hat, and still works ring crew. So it was great to talk to him today on Developmental, and I can't wait to have him back on again. But he was just laying down some high-level knowledge, man. He's such an evolved he's got a doctorate in this shit. I don't know if there's anybody who can go out there and pull a 90-minute Broadway, format your show, direct and produce the vignettes, get the barter system done with your local affiliates, and book the town for the next thing to make sure all the boys are booked the right way for the house show. That's what this guy's doing every single week, man. And that's my hat's off to him, man. I miss producing and writing with him. What a brilliant, brilliant performer.
Yeah, and he could do all that in his sleep, standing on his head.
Yeah.
So it's nice. It's nice. All right, that's cool, man. Another question I have for you. You did a few bars at the top. What do you think? We got all these things swirling with Hamin Media Group, the Realm. So I just got to ask, Wu-Tang podcast win. You and me, buddy, huh? Team up again?
I'm down, good? Man. That's things. Those are the pet projects that I really want to get to in the next year. That is listening and breaking down those things, because I just saw the TMZ clip of the kid from the Acclaim, in AEW and
Caster.
Yeah, and I know you responded to this. I remember even back in the day how important I think hip hop is as a learning tool, to learn rhythm, to learn cadence, to be able to lose yourself in character, to emulate vocals, to talk a way that's different than you normally do, and to allow yourself to commit to that. There's a lot of self-learning in learning how to spit 16 bars, especially when it comes to the wrestling promo, to create a persona and to be confident in a battle scenario, a face-off scenario. So I'm absolutely about that, and I think that kid is shining like a star right now, of one of the few made guys who's getting over with, I mean, it's not the most original, but it's hip-hop culture, man. Like, it's not what, there can only be one rapper? No, it's battle time. So whether people want to say it reminds them of John Cena or not, dude, I think there's so much artistic integrity in what he's doing, and that every young wrestler out there, they all know that everyone's got their favorite rap songs they're going to sing in the car, but are you going to step up and in front of the mirror and really spit it and do what you need to do? Yeah, you might feel like you're putting on an act, but that's what we do as performers. And once you learn that freedom of body, motion, mind, and start to get it all wired, hip hop is a wonderful tool to do that with, man. And I know how much you appreciate it, that. And there's no higher level than Wu-Tang as far as I'm concerned.
Not really. You got 9 great individuals, or 10 if you want. I guess I don't. I lost count because people get added, people have passed away, so I don't know. I guess it's 9, right? With Kappa and ODB gone. But yeah, I mean, like when you just look at that stuff on the paper, a lot of it is so genius. A lot of white America just doesn't like black guys yelling at them. But I think if they could just see the words, it have a whole different meaning for a lot of people.
Well, I mean, it's got everything from Mafia Gambino references, the Kung Fu references, the black culture and the drug trade, to the street life, to old soul music. You know what I mean? All these things, and when you combine them, and what I love with improv and what I was talking about with Power earlier, where we had Lumpy Magoo, a white nerd who didn't get any offense, and the Grape Drink Connection, and we built these 2 worlds of these ghetto guys with their own Popeye spinach with a grape drink, and this nerd who keeps putting his foot in his mouth, but we endeared people to them in their own worlds, and eventually they collided and made something beautiful together that was completely believable. I feel like Wu-Tang's that cultural blender of New York City with all those styles, and movie references and wrestling references are 2 other things they put in a lot of. And that crosses all boundaries too. You know what I mean? So that's what I think the real magic of learning their styles. And with 9 guys, 10 guys, that's 10 different styles. And dude, I chipped my front canine tooth. I still can't rap half a cap of Raekwon's stuff. For some reason, his fucking style. And when I try and really emulate it, I mean, I got Method Man wired. Like wired, no problem. That bounces and I can go off other dudes the same way. But dude, I cracked my tooth doing Raekwon. I had to have it fucking filed down at the dentist just from rapping. I'm not shitting you,
man.
So, yeah. I take my lyricism seriously. It's all verbal exercise. You know what I mean?
All right. Well, let's get some verbal exercise going here on this Impact review. In the chat and YouTube, Jonathan he's asking if we got super chats. You're going to have to explain to him about the monetization.
Oh, yeah. So YouTube has demonetized my channel, and we're waiting to meet the quota for Twitch for partnership on the new channel. So right now, I appreciate that. Absolutely. If you're looking to spend $1, you can always go to patreon.com/Hamin Media Group if you just want to donate. I have the upper tiers with $5 Rip Rogers, but I want you to get something for your money, so if you're not a Russo's brand subscriber or patreon.com/Russo TWC, all I can tell you is this week's Master Shoot Theater with Jason Sensation was one of the best pieces of improv I've been fortunate enough to do in a very, very long time. We always have a great time with Master Shoot, but if there was ever a week to join to see something incredible, and then Mandir, I can't wait till he produces the next episode. I already saw a small trailer, and it's never been a better content creation time in my life. So I'm very fortunate, and thank you for wanting to support. You can always go to prowrestlingtees.com/Ben Hamin infidels. That's always another way to get some looks when you're riding the bus as well, wearing my gear. But appreciate it. And hopefully we'll be a way that you guys can support. I think it's easiest through Twitch and all that stuff, but everything's just a pain in the ass in 2021, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much. But it kind of always was. So
right.
we're just learning the different ways, right? So
right on.
All right, so let's get an Impact if you don't mind. We'll talk about this. We had this episode they start with a recap of last week. So last week, Ben, they had an Iron Man match on their pre-show behind the Impact or before the Impact or whatever the hell it stands for.
Well, that was Josh Alexander versus who on that?
TJP.
Okay,
TJP. So. Yeah, of the two of the guys that can do an Iron Man match, it's probably going to be those guys, right? But so what ended up happening was they wanted this to be like the whole hour of the BTI show, but they bled over so that the last 8 minutes of the Iron Man regulation time started the show last week.
I kind of like that. That's old school Rip DCW style, starting with a match, giving them the finish, and then that would be a small driver to get them to go watch the whole thing. You know what I mean?
Right. And so my concern with that is once they see the 8 minutes and the finish, they're not going to go back and watch the 52 before because which that's the whole idea, right? The idea would be to drive the traffic to your free BTI show for whatever reason, and then you it's like, oh, okay, but are they really once I was saying this before, the two questions that really matter in sports and even in wrestling today is who's going to win and who won, depending on what time you come into it, right? So like once they seen the finish, I don't know that they're really going to go back and watch.
So let me put it to you that way. Should your whole second hour be 52 minutes and then the 8 minutes you give away on BTI to drive them there, and maybe you'll have people watch the whole match to do the hour Broadway to retell the story? You think that's a better way, Vet?
No. Just because only because I don't know that Impact can afford to sacrifice the attention span of the few viewers they have if they're willing to actually sit there for one match.
Yeah, but I think the novelty of it, where neither other show is doing that, could be the one of like, hey, you got to see these guys go pull 52. It's pretty goddamn good. And then what was the finish? I don't know. We gotta go watch it next 2 days from now on fucking whatever, or have it right there at the end. And to see how, like, that give you a true metric of who's watching and how much of a draw that is to go to your YouTube right away in real time to watch that hourly update after that.
Yeah. I don't know. They are trying stuff, so who's to say? I just wanted to bring that up a little bit and have a little mini discussion here. So
jump forward on that, when they had Josh Alexander do his promo, he was fucked up. So did he take some bad heat? So did he get his nose broken or something in that?
Well, I didn't watch the 52 minutes, so I don't know. I assume so because he seemed fine before. But yeah, I mean, it was definitely a physical match for sure. I mean, if you're in there with Alexander, it's going to be a physical match, right? I mean, it's just how those Canadian guys do it. So especially him.
Yeah. What a miss that was. I mean, Scorpio Sky on AEW, we saw everyone he wants him to be the babyface. He broke off from, Kaz and fucking Curry Man and fucking the brass ring thing. And then they put him with Ethan Page, who's a phenomenal talent, who's gotten himself in great shape and is great coming through the camera on the promo. Dude, the North was one of the best things going in Impact. I have no idea why they wouldn't bring them both over instead of restarting him and Scorpio as the douche shirts when Scorpio's a natural babyface and Page is a natural heel. Man, I just think we're taking the long way to get to these guys are back together again, and now it'll fucking work. Like there was money there to not sign both of them. That was a mistake, man.
Yeah, it's not like their tag team division is so deep that they can't afford to do stuff like that. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's probably some stuff we don't know concerning Alexander and not wanting to, make the jump for some reason. Maybe they decide to sweeten his deal. I don't know what goes on there. So if anybody has the inside track on that, but there were title implications for this. So we're starting the show. Matt Striker's still on assignment, whatever that means. That's the bullshit thing that they come up with where they try to explain why somebody's not there. This is week 3. It's a long assignment. Yeah. And then so we're getting Scott D'Amore in the ring. He's going to bring out Tony Khan. He's going to say that it's going to be a one-on-one title match at Daly's place. And the winner is going to face Sami Callihan. So, my questions was this: why was this an in-ring? So, like, why when you've got no crowd there and it's obvious, why have these 3 guys standing there holding the mics like douchebags and just rambling? For pops, like the structured to get it's somewhat to get pops from the crowd that isn't there, but they have like a fake crowd, like crowd noise. But
Right.
why not just do this as like a backstage vignette or one of the more slickly produced looking things? It looks more Bush League when they're just standing in an empty arena in a ring with all three with microphones. Like it didn't work for me. How was it for you?
Yeah, it's weird, but it does one thing. They want Tony Khan's money. What does
Mm-hmm.
Tony Khan want more than anything at the most root level?
Well, he wants to be one of the boys, is what he wants.
So a backstage vignette is good. I agree, because I think D'Amore is way better in a good office scene. I think he makes it really great and believable. It feels like I'm in Danny's office about to get chewed out or worked or something. He has that tension, and a different one for every situation. But Khan wants to be one of the boys. He wants to be a star. So we're going to put him in the ring. He's the character. He's got the glasses on, the crazy hair. He's fucking stoned out of his mind because, that's why he's got to have the glasses on so you don't see his gimmicks. And back and forth and try and put the heat on Cyrus. I thought Cyrus did a good job carrying the scene, and D'Amore, that him can ping pong that heat back and forth very well against each other. D'Amore will lay it on you. Cyrus will evade and use some words, and then D'Amore will use your own words against you. That's a good game that he's very adept at playing. And meanwhile, Khan sits there and looks like he's running the show for home field advantage for the big match or what have you. So the main reason for doing this in ring is to make Khan feel like a superstar fucking manager, bro.
Well, okay, so that somebody's got to talk to this guy, because the thing about it is that like he's going to look like more of a star in a mini movie where they can hide the fact that his body language is awkward and doesn't match the presence that he's trying to project. He's trying to project like an executive, I think, and he does ramble, but he's not embarrassing when you just hear him talk. But then when you just see him stand there with his just looking like a schlub, like that's what really kills him, and that's where the in-ring part kills you, because you're just seeing that full, the 3-shot, whatever it is, you're just seeing him just I'm Tony. Like that's where it would, the movie scene makes him look like more of a star. That's someone needs to talk to him, and I don't know if people do, and he just doesn't care. He's definitely on the spectrum, so I can see how he just does stuff doesn't just sink in sometimes, but. I don't know.
I think you're nailing it, bro. I think the fact that he wants to be that, and both those guys are shark workers, bro. D'Amore and Callis, come on, man. Those are two big sharks. So they know what they want to do, but you're 100% right of like exposing them as doofy instead of protecting them. And I've said this on plenty of Like the Fuses. I'd love to be his big brother to pinch him on the back of the arm and go, no, we're not doing that. Let me show you how to protect you and do this way. But in his mind, to watch that back, he fucking killed it. He killed it, he's caught, he's nailed it. First take, Tony fucking killing it out here, bro. Follow that one, boys.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. I'll tell you one thing, bro. So you know how let's go back to last week on SmackDown, right? So I heard you guys talking about it on the review, you and Stevie. And when Belair came out for her promo, right? Mm-hmm. So on the Smack Attack, I posited the theory that what that looked like to me, and I don't know it to be true, but it looks like this as much as any other reason why this would have happened, that she did this rambling promo, is like right before she goes out there, they're like, we just added 5 minutes to your promo. Stretch it out, and so she's got to like filibuster and make everything take way too long to get to a point and stuff like that. Now, that's one thing Tony Khan would never have a problem with. He can always just repeat himself and mumble for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, however many minutes it takes. That's not the issue. The issue is just the presence, and for all we know, that people are ribbing him and saying, no, Tony, you got to come on. Let's do it like this. And he's like, no. But they make him do it. I mean, maybe who knows? But it's just
starts with that small addiction, and I hate to use Brody's passing as it, but he came out there, did the right thing by Brody's kid and family, and that was enough of spotlight to start that fucking those scrums, post media scrums where Hausman and all those guys are kissing his ass and Meltzer. That's enough to start that, light that fire. And now here we are with the douche glasses on, trying to be the owner. Meanwhile, 460,000 botched fucking huge payoff matches that shouldn't be happening. Payoff matches happening at the beginning of feuds. The number 2 spot on your show is the most overbooked match and should be your main event. Stepping on all of your business. Where, dude, and around you, you have Dustin Runnels, Arn Anderson, Tully Blanchard, Dean Malenko. The list goes on. And they're all there to take their little bite off of him, but nobody's thinking long term and really being like, bro, I will zip tie you to that motherfucking chair if you don't do what I'm telling you to do and how to structure this show in a way that he needs to be taught in the proper way, because he went to some PWG shows. Those guys blew sunshine up his ass, and now he thinks he understands it all because he was dream booking when he was 12 with his toys. But he doesn't know rule 1 of how to put heat on a heel and make a baby off of a heel, you know. So.
No. And they're suffering. The biggest thing they're suffering from is having all that talent and then hot-shotting like 3 years worth of booking into 6 months. If they would just, with all the other mistakes they make, if they would just do that, where they slow things down and drag the angles out a little bit, that would help a lot in the perception of it.
We get a press release that's not even a graphic. It's a picture of the press release on a piece of paper that says Mike Tyson's coming 24 hours from now. Come on, B.
9 days from tonight. We don't have Colin with all his drops, but that's where he'd say 9 days from tonight.
9 days, 3 days, only 9 days.
I definitely, speaking of that, I definitely want to make use of all of your Bailey drops here. So anytime you want to get a ding dong hello or a don't tell me what to do, that's my favorite one.
That's you like that. We can always do that, but
first of all, don't tell me what to do.
And tonight was a big episode of fucking
ding dong.
And the whole fucking set got trashed, the whole 9, man. So.
I'm gonna look at that one later. It hasn't even aired on my coast yet.
No.
Yeah. Oh, and just real quick sidebar. Like, I remember how down you were on Bailey when she first started doing that stuff. But come on, just admit it. It's over with you, right? It got over with you.
No,
let's be real.
Terrible. That's terrible.
No, it's great. It's great.
What is getting over with me that plucked a string from my childhood is the Wicked Witch of the West laugh.
Right. Yeah, I heard you say that.
That was very, and now, but tonight they jumped it. I'll tell you what happened. They did
ding dong. Hello?
With her and Seth, and they just did douche laughs back and forth with each other, and it's so forced and not organic. They already missed it. They had it, and they don't know how to cultivate that into a game. The only thing that got back over is after Cesaro kicks the shit out of Seth and destroys the set. Then EST comes out and she's about to cut the ghetto ass promo, and she just starts laughing. So at least they played the game out in the third beat the right way for the baby to get the retribution on the heel through the verbal. But it was real cringy all the way to get to that point, bro. It just didn't work. And
of course, all their creative is terrible. Like let's not. But I was just specifically talking about the idea of Bailey as a heel, where they probably never should have done it. But it's not like they got her babyface character right in the first place. I mean, she's a dork who's a fan, who's actually pretty good at wrestling. That's the character. But you would think, like, if you turn heel, you're not just going to be automatically cool just because you're a heel. So she's still going to be a dork. And the stuff that she's saying that she thinks is cool, but it's not cool. So that works. But then again, she's just at the mercy of the overall creative, which is Bailey is, I don't care what anybody says, Bailey is a prime time lemonade and chicken salad maker. But you can only do so much. So
well, I think they're missing where Impact is hitting, and I actually sent this to I sent it to 2 women, and it's now on neither of them. But I wanted to see the Karen angle done because you know how I am. I'll come up with something, and if I don't send it to somebody, it'll eat me up. and I don't care if I get paid or if it makes it to TV. I've had plenty of things stolen. But I think Nevaeh or Chelsea Green would have been a phenomenal Karen character. And now it's Susan, right, for Sue Young, and I think she's doing good, but they didn't give us nearly the vignettes that I was hoping for, because that to me screams, I love looking up Karens on World Star. Like, that's like every one of those, we could recreate that shit. But I think Bailey could have been a great Karen as well if we would have committed to it. I just like Chelsea Green because of her stuff with Laurel Van Ness was some of the greatest character stuff I've seen in decades, and I thought she was just nailing it the whole time. But I think all four of those girls could have made that believable in a different way, each one of them. And I'm glad to see Sue Young doing it, and her commitment to it is there. I just want to see good vignettes to make the character pop more.
We'll get to Sue Young. So next was like they do this on Impact, which is weird to me. I don't know how you feel about it, so let's find out. Against all odds, they kind of run down the card, but then in the middle of it, they talk about the shows that are coming. They get the announcers on camera, then they run down the upcoming pay-per-view, which seems like they have one literally every 2 weeks. Like, I've only been doing this for a couple months, and they've already had like 3 or 4 pay-per-views. Mm-hmm. So they're running down the card, and then they're inserting, but tonight on Impact, we're having this and this, which, okay, that's one thing. But then later on, you'll see they're going to run down the pay-per-view card again. So it's just kind of like, okay, do you really think people are watching your show like old school TV where they may have tuned in late and you need to catch them up? Like, if you're that big of a fan that you care about Against All Odds and you're going to buy it, you probably watched this from the beginning, or you probably waited to catch the whole thing on a VOD.
Maybe, but they're also got Twitch, and I wonder, it's interesting. It could be time filler because we're on a skeleton crew. It could be the fact of what you are right. They do billboard to their major pay-per-views, but also have little setup ones in between. So that begs the question, should WWE be billing SummerSlam alongside Money in the Bank and Great Balls of Fire or whatever? Like, you know what I mean? To like show the whole thing. That's not really what they're doing, but that's an interesting concept after you just mentioned it right there. The other part is that it's just over billboarded, and they like, hey, somebody might be tuning on Twitch for 5 minutes, and they might buy that too. So billboard the show twice. If we have some first hour fall off, I don't know what their metric is. Maybe they have that and they want to get it in before somebody jumps over to something else, you know? So, it is tough to follow, and it does seem like they have a special named show every like 2-3 weeks, right? So
yeah. All right. So next we get the for lack of a better term, we'll just say the Elite go backstage. The chick comes up to interview him, and it seems like they shrug her off. What happened there? I kind of like looked away, and the next thing I know, she was gone.
Yeah, like they just pretty much like, we got this. You know what I mean? You don't need the Brizod. So
okay. So they want to put a bounty on Sammy. And then Scott D'Amore comes up, books a tag match with the Good Brothers. So my main question from this is, what is this lighting?
Yeah, and to me, that's kind of skeleton crew too. Like, like you can always tell what Big LG compared to everybody else's skin tone.
Skeleton crew aside, like, how many people does it take to turn on the lights? I mean, it's just it looks weird. It's like it's like a red. It's got a reddish hue. You know, like, is this some sort of like, I don't know.
I don't even know if they've got lighting guys, and that's just like the building's lighting of what's going on and who's producing what at this point, man. I know Josh Matthews is a top producer, dude, but I gotta think, with as much as they're like losing numbers wise and trying to hold on to do this cross promotional business, things could be added and subtracted at the last minute. And if these guys aren't there, but we need this promo, this is good enough for now, as opposed to something that we could really do. You know, I that's all hypothetical in my opinion, but yeah, I'd like to see a more pro continuity look myself.
Yeah, I feel like that's one of the easiest problems to solve, you know, but
Sure.
But it's been a consistent struggle as far as I'm concerned. Just the way to not look like you're poor there's ways that you can disguise it, and that's one of the easiest ones. So I just always bring that up any chance I get. So here's a question for Ben Hamin.
Hello.
Do you know who Soda Thompson is?
No, I heard that, and I was wondering what
Now
that.
you wanna know? Okay.
What that was. Yeah.
So here's the lore. So we had Finn Juice over in Impact pulling some time, for New Japan and getting their thing in, winning some titles and whatnot. And I was thinking, like, well, clearly, I see this guy Sam Beal, and I'm thinking Impact definitely wants to have their own Juice Robinson. Because he's not going to be around forever, so they got to snag him up now. So what's better than Soda Thompson to replace Juice Robinson when he's gone? So here we have Brian Myers in his most professional wrestler gimmick, which just basically exposes the business, literally. Which is that's kind of like the complete opposite of what his character is. So I don't know if that's like a meta take on his part, or if he's just really that dumb. I could go either way on it, but so he's teaching him how to cut a promo. So this is one of those things where, like, as insiders, when we were younger and didn't know better, and we were watching ECW and stuff, and whenever they went behind the curtain a little bit, and we're like, oh, that's cool, because we wanted to be that. Then once we were that, now we're like, dude, shut the fuck up, you're ruining everything.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you feel like that, because sometimes I know you like the entertainment aspect of it, even when it like completely kills everything. So I don't know. Like, to me, this is not as egregious as like Shayna Baszler running from a doll, but it's still to the degree where you're actually saying phrases like cutting promos. He's talking about putting his opponent over and doing this shit. This is inside. This is why you don't have viewers, because the only people watching your shit are like people in the business, and all like everybody that works there and all their families is probably making up the 100,000 viewers they have.
Probably. And I think because of that, they're resigned to that, because they've tried everything to get back casuals and it's not. So if you're going to be that flavor of ice cream for the wrestlers wrestling fan show, then let's do it. And the way he does this promo is still tongue-in-cheek, even though he's doing business exposing things. It's like in a way too that's cliche of what every wrestling school teaches, or things that are said in podcasts over and over again that are true tropes, but people don't know how to apply them. And the kid's got the mullet and the whole nine and the fucking Ray-Bans and trying to do all the cliche shit. And then when he does it the right way, like an old school NWA way of billboard the town and put your opponent over and whatnot, he shits on him and says it should be, that like, then he goes in on Cardona. So his own id does get mixed in there, even though they are using a lot of insider terms. It's in a satirical way. So I didn't have too much of a problem with it. I think there's places we could turn up the volume and do it in a little bit better way. But I think the podcast thing, like, there's plenty of, if you wanted to take real stabs, like, that's where I would do the crossover. You know what I mean? There's more reality there than there is anyplace else. But we also shined the kid to get him over, and I thought it gave him good time. And it looks poor though, right? Like, it's supposed to kind of be the most professional wrestler with, like, the graphics can be pretty much done by anybody, and then a piece of paper taped to the wall kind of thing. That's pretty much DCW shit. You know what I mean?
All right. Shout outs to Colin joining us here.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're doing the heavy lifting for you, Colin. You enjoy your time, whatever you're there in New York to do. I think make a wedding pizza for Ray or something. I don't know. I wasn't really paying attention, but I think we could do that. See, what I always thought, anytime I thought of anything creatively, I wanted to do something that no one did or hadn't done in a long time. And even if it was something that somebody had done a long time, I would like to make it my own thing so that people would not necessarily remember it, right? So I think if you have the idea that you want to teach somebody how to be a professional wrestler, you can do all the same things, but just be a little more careful in your choice of language so that you're not using those terms. If you just avoid certain terms, because I don't know how much interaction you have with real world marks and stuff. Like you probably, like I'm not talking about fans that come to see you. I'm talking about if you know people that talk about wrestling or are wrestling fans, a lot of them, like, we overestimate the amount of smart, quote unquote smart fans there are. Like, they really don't know terms like promo. That doesn't mean anything to them. It barely means anything to people in the real world. And to use it in a wrestling context, they don't really know what you're talking about. They don't say heels. They don't say things like that. They just talk like it's half-ass real still sometimes. So it's like, I don't know, man. I just think, like, no one's missing it. No one was saying, hey, why don't you just use insider terms if they don't do it? But if they do it, then you got people like me saying, why are you using insider terms? And even though I know the business has been exposed, it's not about that. It's about like stubbornly refusing to acknowledge that everything that you're doing is fake, because when you do that, the stuff that you're asking me to pay money for doesn't mean anything. Think about it like a WrestleMania a couple years ago. You have this match with Bray Wyatt and John Cena where they do everything that's like the most impossible things ever. Time traveling, teleporting, all this other stuff. Then you want me to watch directly after that. You want me to watch Brock Lesnar and Drew McIntyre like I give a fuck anymore. You can't do that. It kills it. That's what they don't get. It's like, you can't buy anything. Like, even if you enjoy the match, you're still like, in the back of your mind, it doesn't mean as much as it did to you when, like, a Warrior or Hogan thing when you were a kid or whatever. Like, it's not just about getting older and growing up. It's about, like, you're pulling people's brains in two different directions. And that's what's causing people to tune out or feel like, yeah, I can miss this week. I'm busy. I don't have time for it. And that's why ratings are down, across the board.
You have great points on all that. I just think that the cool kids are going to be cool kids and do what they want to do to get their hustle over. And if that's at the expense of the rest of the show, so I stuck out as the fucking smart mark man, dude, and they're talking about me on the sheets and in the Reddit, then fuck the rest of the show. You know what I mean? And then I'll parlay that into my own fucking, what did Gallows and Anderson have? What's that fucking thing? The Down South Dirty Mud Show fucking whatever pay-per-views they do, right? That further exposed the bit. You know what I mean? Those things that they ran, what are they fucking called? God damn it. You know what I'm talking about?
It could be a couple things. I know they do those live talking shop things.
Shopomania.
Shopomania, that's right, yeah.
They made 30, 40 grand on that, bro. So,
yeah. But those guys that are buying that are not the ones in the grocery store that don't know what promo means.
Yeah, but those people in the grocery store don't know that, aren't watching Impact anyway, so they've given up on trying to recruit them, so they're getting the dollar from the super smarts with the inside shit. Yeah. And that's just
I like that. I like that, though. I mean, because let's face it, like that's what I'm saying. When you accept that the business is exposed, that's one thing, right? But it's when it's on your main television. Like if you've got a sub thing, like look at you're like Ben Hamin. You're on a podcast right now. You're not a terrorist right now, but so you know what I mean. So
this is my CIA cover that they.
Oh, made. Okay, all right. I didn't know that. Okay, so sorry to blow the cover, but you know what I'm saying. But when you are at the show, you're not going to be doing these things. You're not going to have the roadcaster with the ding dong hellos when you're at the show trying to get heat. So that's what I'm saying. Like, you do what you want in your own time. Do your interviews, do your podcasts, do your pay-per-views for the smart marks, where that stuff encapsulated, that's your target audience and that's your money. But then on the main TV show, let's pretend it's real for a while. It's like if you're watching the Avengers and Thanos starts talking about Robert Downey Jr.'s drug problem, then it's like, okay, I'm checked out. You know what I'm saying? That's what you don't want to do.
Great. It's great. I agree with you 100%, Pat.
All right. So moving on. So Sammy Callahan complains to Scott D'Amore that no one likes him. And then Dreamer wanders in and volunteers to be his partner under more bad lighting.
Yeah, was that? What was that heat about, though? Like, that he's blackballed himself. I don't know of any company that Sammy's blackballed himself from or ever been tough to work for that I've heard of. I heard he did good biz at OVW. He's loved at 2CW. Maybe on the way out with DJ Hyde, who has his head up his ass 90% of the time in CZW. Impact, he's been the best thing there, was the draw and the hacker. As far as I'm concerned, I think he takes care of his business and promos the best, and he puts on great matches. So he left NXT because they didn't get how to do the Solomon Crow thing the right fucking way? That makes him a heater. That was an interesting line to me about Sammy being blackballed, or that Khan doesn't want to work with Callahan. Is there some shoot bang bang there that I'm unaware of as well?
Well, he did get fired from MLW for being stupid, and then like doing something in the match that he was explicitly told not to do, or such thing. I don't recall because that was a couple years ago.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know that story.
Anybody can find the details. Yeah, I don't know if he left NXT or if he was released. He did a tour in New Japan that he was not invited back for. So he, there is some heat on Callahan.
Interesting. I guess I was unaware, because I mean, I look at Sammy and I have nothing but respect for what I've seen him do on Impact. I remember how fucked up NXT was. There was some weird link that people could log in and like just change the week of the way they did the fucking weeks of it. And I remember seeing the Solomon Crow secret footage of the promos and shit like that, and it was on next level come over fucking everybody else's, we've been there, take it home, 30 seconds, 10 promo and hit your catchphrase. Like it was way above it. And it was just more than they could handle to produce that level of brilliance as far as I'm concerned. And but that's interesting to me. There's because that line stuck out to me. I'm like, Sammy's blackballed, but I didn't know about MLW or New Japan. So that's interesting, man.
Yeah, I'm not sure about all the details, and I don't know that I want to say nice things about Sammy Callahan, but I mean, so I'll say that I've seen an improvement since I was first introduced to him. I've seen an improvement in certain things, and I do like his creativity in the sense that the way he thinks about things differently. I like that same thing about Kenny Omega. The problem is I don't like the way they go about executing it all the time.
Okay.
I once said that Sammy Callahan was probably the worst wrestler that ever made it to the level that he made it to. Like in terms of mechanics and psychology and things like that. But I don't think that anymore because I've seen so many worse guys come up. So by process of elimination, he's moved up.
He's moved up on
the old Jim Cornette and Ole Anderson thing. So, but I mean, like since he hasn't done anything egregiously offensive since I've been watching.
The last bad thing where I was like cringy was when it was with what's his name's daughter, Tessa Blanchard. And Brian Cage and Sammy, you would have lost your shit at that match. I was losing my mind. Like, what the fuck are we doing? But when it comes to mixing pertinent now, hacker, cool style, what's in style now, I think Sammy Callahan is way ahead of everybody else. Moxley's right in there, too, of like knowing how to stay cool while everybody else is doing terrorist gimmicks and fucking the best wrestler, the most professional assholes or whatever we are.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so Dreamer wants to be his partner. So now here we have a change of pace. So Decay is not opening the show anymore, which they had a nice streak going of being opening match every show, and they still are the first match here. But we got a few segments beforehand. We're gonna get Rosemary versus Havoc.
This is our first match. We're like 30 minutes in right here, right? With package recap, in ring. Fuck this guy. Put a hit on him. I'll tag on him. Da 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 da. Now first match is Havoc versus Rosemary. Yeah. So I knew this was going to get you hot right out of the gate because it got me hot. So this match starts fast with two fucking spears, false pin, kick out, and then the finish was one spear. So I get wear your opponent down, hit him again with it, but kids, don't bury your finish in the opening fucking things and have them kick out and bury your finish. If anything, you're going to do it, hit them with a spear, they kick out on one, and then in the end, you have to hit them with two to go over, but really you shouldn't even be hitting the spear out of the gate. You can tease it, have her do the Olay sidestep, and you go in and hit the fucking post, and she starts her heat on you right there. But it's the threat of violence is just as important as the violence itself. Don't do the violence and have them bury it only to come back and have it work later because you conditioned your audience that it didn't work. Did that get up your ass out of the gate, Vet?
A little bit. When I first saw it, I was just like, oh, so they're doing the Brock Lesnar match where it's all finishers, right?
Yeah.
So first of all, these are not the performers to be putting on that level. Second of all, that level sucks anyways. Third of all, you don't start doing the Brock Lesnar Goldberg match and then slip into a regular match.
Right.
You don't do that. You either keep it going or whatever, but they have not built Havoc to be a Brock Lesnar, so there's no purpose for this. She's just another woman there, and to them, I mean, and that's it. She's a little heavier, that's it. They don't treat her like she's some kind of unstoppable monster, and to be frank, she doesn't necessarily look like it. She looks like,
I don't know, man. If you book her the right way, Havoc can be your top girl. I believe that.
Well, they're not doing it. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying they couldn't.
I'm the only one who ever kidnapped her as well. Ooh. So yeah, dude, it was fun. I think.
How much help did you have?
I had a lightsaber on.
Okay.
No, that was after I took out Dick Justice, and it was either I beat Dick Justice more, or she submits to protect him. You know what I mean? Submits to my will. So it was psychological that way, and then went off with me, and eventually was just a heel hit woman for me. You know what I mean? So it all worked. But yeah, man, I got a soft spot in my heart for J-Hav, and I think Rosemary has done great things. She shined this summer in the Wrestle House, so she can do character, but I agree this match was not what we needed here from either of them in that Brock type of match. Now that you say that, that is more apparent to me, but burying doing two of the finishes out of the gate, kicking out, and then finishing with one, I was going, oh, boys, that's not what we do there. But I like both these girls, so shout out to them.
Yeah, so they're fine. I like Rosemary. She wins, like you said. She's the number one contender now because they just need to have some match for a number one contender. I've been watching this every week, and I'm still not clear on like how this stuff is playing out. So then the moms hit the ring, which is Susan and Kimberly. Yep. Susan cuts a promo, okay, demanding that Tasha versus Kimberly is going to take place right now. I wonder what Myers thought about her promo. So I have a note here to ask myself about, or I have a note to myself to ask you about Susan, which is, since you've been watching longer, since she's been doing this Susan thing, and so I've been talking to Colin about it over the weeks, and so I just want to know, like, is her gimmick that she's the shits, or is she the shits?
I think it's the gimmick is because she could work before, and she was doing heavy zombie, like, you know what I mean, horror type stuff. And then they switched her again to Sue Young, which was like this little baby doll innocent thing, like the Shining Girls. And that was really over, where she wrestled decently as a baby face. And then out of nowhere, with no real inception, they just were like, you're going to be the Karen character, and we're just going to start doing it, and we're not going to set it up. So all the other two characters that she did had great backstory, great supporting cast, even though the mythic thing isn't my favorite genre of wrestling. She was doing decent stuff with it. This is supposed to make her look like the shits and just demand things and demand apologies. It's not to make her look competent in the ring. I think she's supposed to look like a mom that came in and doesn't know what they're doing.
Well, the only thing that makes me question that is the fact that she's almost or possibly actually did hurt people on a couple of different occasions, doing things that you wouldn't normally do. Even when you're doing the gimmick that you don't know how to wrestle, you still would take care of the person on the thing. So maybe life is imitating art. I'm just worried about.
She's a method wrestler.
Yeah, right. So Kimberly versus Tasha, just as Susan demanded. I haven't been kind to Kimberly over these episodes that I've been doing. It really goes against all of the things that you kind of look for in a performer, you know, whether it's cosmetic attractiveness, skill, marketability, even down to the ring gear. Here, like for an example, here in this match, she's not tan, she's sunburned. That's just awful. I'll give this note to Tasha Steelz, who I have enjoyed. I've enjoyed Fire and Flava a little bit.
Me too.
But I'll give her this note as a worker. When a fat girl says, "I'll do a swanton," and you get the knees up, just say, "I'll move." Okay.
Roll in. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but Tasha wins.
I agree. I mean, because I like Fire and Flavor too. I think with the Sweetie and fucking Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion, I think they fit right in there. It's very topical, and even kind of a little bit of Orange Is the New Black mixed in there. You know what I mean? With both of them, there's a little of that. But with Kimberly, I'm sure she's a lovely girl. But they're talking about on commentary, she's been there for a year, and her whole ride. And I'm thinking to myself, we're still wearing this like shimmer gear that looks like Tinkerbell, and she really hasn't.
She looks like if Disney's Hercules was one of the princesses instead of Hercules.
And I agree, it's a cosmetic industry. Of course, in the Me Too movement, you can easily get, "How dare you say that about any woman?" And look at you. Yeah, that's why Rip called me a fat bastard and still does to this day. And I wrestle with a shirt on too, so I'm not the one to be like telling everybody how to be. But she's on Impact for a year, and there hasn't been like, holy shit, I got a TV spot. Finally, I'm going to work my fucking ass off to be like, man, you should have seen Kimberly last year compared to how she is now. It's kind of like going along to get along. And that also goes with, am I booked for the next shows? But I would be working my ass off to make sure that I was, in case I came back, so people don't have the chance to say he looks worse than the last set of tapings. That's one of the quickest ways to get cut. You know what I mean? She's competent and has put in thousands of road miles and is a veteran of the indies, but she looks indie on TV, and that's the problem,
She looks indie among indie, which is bad. And the other thing is, too, like, this is something I described before as the Trevor Murdoch principle. If you're going to look a certain way, that's one thing. But you better be a hell of a worker, which she's not, or a hell of a promo, which she's not.
And she's been back up to Susan the whole time, or back up to somebody, or Deonna Purrazzo, the whole time, So, yeah, man, I hope Impact's around long enough for her to re-sign and whatnot, but I just hope that people who've worked this long on the indies and finally get their shot, make the most of it, so you kind of can't open yourself up for the invisible arrows from Damien.
Well, yeah, that's my thing. Look, take my words as motivation, not as just an insult, because I don't know anything about her personally. But if you're going to go and put yourself out there looking like a slob and you suck at everything you do, then you are offending me personally, and get out of my business. That's basically how I look at it.
That's the vet, baby. But like Society Review says, if Impact brings in Chelsea Green, Peyton Royce, Billy Kay, Mickey James, that's going to take Kimber's. Like, you can't have girls that look like pinups and then, girls that look like Walmart workers, at the same time, bro. Unless, I don't know, her as the Walmart worker could get over, bro. If she showed up off shift, has had enough of your people's shit, and she's ready to fucking go, I could get behind that, man.
I guess, but I don't think we should have to struggle to find stuff for people that untalented. So next is the Burt Macklin FBI vignette. So this is like, to me, this is another white dude screaming. We don't need that in wrestling, but it's a huge departure from last week, which you probably didn't see, where he just had his feet up, chilling with a glass of Jameson, and not saying anything.
I did see that, and the best acting we do is when we say nothing at all, and they're trying to make him a man, you know what I mean, a badass motherfucker. I drink whiskey, I'm this, that, and the other, and it does seem like kind of a version of Killer Cross, but is that a bad thing? Is it bad to just have ass whippers who can snap and go psycho and have had enough because they've been locked up in NXT for too long? And I can't say that, but I'm saying that, and I'm not a little boy in this industry. I'm a fucking man, and if you want to fight me, here I am, motherfucker. Like, I kind of like that feeling, and I think that it wasn't wrong, and I like the look and production of this. He's got a lot of energy that's all over the place that just needs to be focused through the right promo and the right scene partner to get there. But he's going to need 3 or 4 big squashes right out of the gate.
Yeah, I don't know. I think he's already been squashed in his career, so I see $0, but prove me wrong. Josh Alexander interview, of course it's interrupted. Everything gets interrupted on these pretty much. I'm surprised someone didn't walk into this Macklin interview.
Like if Macklin beat Crazy Steve decisively quick, and then he beat maybe like what's his name? Willie Mack. And then he gets to build the Josh Alexander. That's where I see the value in a guy like that. You know what I mean? And then leaves Josh Alexander laying. We do the feud and get into the title, and you can put it on him if you want. If not, if for whatever issues. But that's how I think you got to keep that guy as a strong in the mid card.
Okay. All right. So, yeah, back to the Josh Alexander interview. Interrupted the interview. Ace Austin comes in. So, here's the thing. They do these backstage things, and they play the theme music of the show underneath them. Yeah. That's a classic TNA that they've been doing that for years. I've always thought it was jabroni shit. What do you think about it?
I like it because I do it myself.
God. What do you mean you do it yourself?
If you look at most Ben Hamin promos, they'll come in and fucking call the Islamic prayer a quick B-roll, and then I turn the music down to like -6 decibels, and YOLO underneath it, cut the whole promo, and then I fucking fade up at the end.
That's you though. That's you personally. If you have a show that's putting on a production and you got somebody set to interview multiple wrestlers and you always are playing the show's theme song underneath, that's shitty. That's shitty. It's saying it's saying.
I didn't do it on OVW, but I do it in like when I shoot stuff at home.
Yeah, no, what you're doing, that's the time to do it, because it's like I'm in control of this whole thing. Like everything here, and I'm this is DIY. I'm doing this my way. This is what I want you to see. When a company chooses to score a scene that doesn't need to be scored, what that means is that they don't have faith in anybody's attention, that they're going to listen to what anybody's saying. This is a huge problem when you watch stuff like, if you watch any WWE produced, like the DVDs when they used to, do the biography stuff like the Dusty Rhodes or any of you watch those old superstar Billy Graham, anytime there's just like some talking head segments or showing old photos, like they've got to have some shitty generic composition under it, because it's like, God forbid anybody pay attention to what's being shown to you. You got to have music to keep things peppy. It's like, no, you don't. If the people got it, they got it. They're going to be paying attention. They don't need the show's theme song playing under it the entire time.
Well, then I think the real fucking question is, why don't we have a Macho Man level talent that's going to hold your attention to every word? So we do, like, because what happened is they got a bunch of shitty promos on one show, and they cut the show together, and those promos became dead air, and then somebody went, bro, throw the Impact fucking soliloquy music underneath it, and it saved 1 or 2 promos, and that just became the fucking thing. So hey, don't worry if your promo sucks, we'll put music underneath and fucking keep going, instead of having people who are truly invested in their segment and are gonna get that across, you know.
Yeah, I feel that that's just one of those subtle subconscious things that the viewer listens to that probably like drags the whole thing down in their mind. Even if they watch every week, they probably feel a certain way and don't know why they're feeling that. But that's it. Spaceman wants to know if his Coliseum WWF videos are worth a lot now. I'd hang on to them because they're probably going to delete everything eventually anyway.
That's interesting. Referee Sideburns sent me 2 Reddit threads yesterday. It's called ReCW, and they're taking all the old, having people, you know, digitize their ECW footage, and they've got 94 to 96 done, and then some 2000 footage, but it's got all the original stuff in it. So to make sure that the real library is preserved for the diehards with the original music that they didn't pay any license for and all that type of shit, because once you watch it on the network, you got work to not have a Sandman entrance without Enter Sandman or Rob Van Dam walk or Alice in Chains Man in a Box for Dreamer or Raven, keep them separated. It's not the same experience. New Jack with no fucking Dre and Ice Cube. Get the fuck out of here, bro. You know, so that's interesting. That's an interesting thing. But dude, if you can digitize those, get a Black Magic digitizer and fucking go for it. I mean, it's absolutely preservation of the history, because once the cock buys it out, I guarantee shit will be stripped out and gone.
I wonder if they've gotten to that promo from Heatwave '99 where Bubba says that a mother in the front row taught her daughter how to suck dick. Because that was up on the network the entire time. For some reason, they never took that out. But probably because no one knew about it.
Today's the 15th anniversary of One Night Stand 2006, the second one, with Cena throw the shirt back and all that shit. So I saw that GIF. Dude, I'm standing about 20 yards from where that was, 7th row. And on the plane ride back to Chicago from New York is when I decided I'm going to OVW next month. And fucking I started my fucking OVW journey. So to see that and go, wow, 15 years ago, and then the next month I'm going down and sleeping on Jamin's floor. And how about Jamin doing the openings of Impact now too, man?
Crazy.
Like, you know, like 15 years, an overnight success after 15 years, right? Like, but that really
he made it all the way to the Impact intros.
I know, right, man?
Somewhere. I mean, he always deserved better, but you know, who knows?
Yeah.
So let's go on to this tag match here with Petey and Trey versus Rohidi and Bay. This is your classic match just to get some action, right? Like they've been doing this since the pay-per-view days of TNA. Just like get guys in there and have them do stuff. I think fans are pretty desensitized to it at this point because every match is like that on every show and every company. But you know, that's what it was here. They've got some sort of a #1 contendership to the X Division thing going on here, and you know that's what this was. So
they worked the hot tag. They cut off the ring. I like Rohit Raju, man, and I like I think all of the team up offense and all that shit when Madman Fulton came in and all the heels had to work with the babies to beat on the monster and all that shit. I thought all that was good action to heighten up and break up from. It's just the same old match of get your shit in. So they actually worked fundamentals. I think Rohit gets it fully. And, you know, that's good with them to be in with Petey Williams and for a mixed match tag to do some weird undercard business. And it made Madman Fulton look like a big badass motherfucker. So, you know, even though they did get a lot of
until the end when he got the Ultimate Destroyer. But
yeah, right.
But who cares about that, right? Who cares?
Yeah, it took that, right?
As a great man once said, who cares about that? So next we have Willie. He's making Rich promise to stay out of his no disqualification match with Morrissey. I'm sure they're playing music under this as well. So that's just to set up something later. I wonder if he's really going to stay out of it, Ben. I don't know. Considering the percentage of things that get interrupted on this show. We'll see. Next is All About Me.
Khan is there, so we got to step on business. That's just
that's right. Then you shouldn't have said it. So All About Me with Jellering as a host. So Ben, in case you weren't aware, Jellering is a portmanteau I came up with to save time and also to evoke their body fat percentage as a team.
Okay.
Now the concept of All About Me, I think, is like right after you stopped watching Impact and went to NXT, but it's Tenille, and she is the permanent guest of this show, and the host is the revolving thing. So that's what she's playing with here, even though she explained it, so I'm sure you got it. But yeah, these kind of things have been hit or miss. Again, the lighting's damaging. This is what it looks like when cable access goes HD. But I think that Tenille's trying to make something out of it. I don't know. Talk about it. What do you think?
I like the premise. There's a lot we could do with that game of come in and interview me, make it about me for the heel, for the megalomaniac. And then we have TV's Trish Parker, a.k.a. Jordan Grace, show up to call it out and whatnot. And, I just love the women empowerment, and it's my body and whatnot. And then yesterday she drops that one on Twitter. Good stuff.
God damn it. Put that down. Put that down.
Why can't we have that on the show? And to set up for I think I should have a match with you for disrespecting my partner. No, I've got this. I'll have a match with you. Like, let's just get to it. I think, what's his name? The sidekick. He's a good wrestler too.
Caleb Conley?
Caleb
with a K?
Yeah. I think he's good at supporting the scene and doing the little takes and the little Instagram talk that's so annoying that adds something to the scene, so she doesn't have to do it. She can just, stay hot and aloof. But yeah, this isn't a match that there's a lot of heat here now and it's going down. It's just people making their own matches over what, I thought Tenille Dashwood did a good job of kind of like hinting like, hey, it should be you and I as partners, and what'd you bring this bitch for, without saying it. So I enjoyed this, and she's really starting to get into a character finally after years of floundering back and forth, WWE, popping bubbles with Santino, to fucking whatever it was. Even when she came to Impact early on, the work wasn't there. It really has been starting to shape up in the last 6 months or so. So I'm happy for her, man. And Caleb Conley can work, but he's taking no bumps and helping as a supporting actor. There's a guy who's using his time on TV, like you were explaining earlier, instead of worrying about going into business for himself and doing cute shit, serving the scene and making it as believable as he can, making the most out of what he's given.
People with trained eyes know when you're serving the scene.
Yes.
And even with people with untrained eyes, it's still, again, a subliminal subconscious thing that I like this, I don't know why. The opposite of the music under the promo thing.
Sure.
Wolfers says there's an extra couch when Tenille told her there wasn't any room. Who forgot to remove it? Did you catch that? I definitely caught that. It's like off to the left.
Was there another one? I didn't see it.
There was like plenty of room. Maybe that's and maybe that is part of the joke. So they've been doing a subtle thing where the way this team came together is Jazz was going to retire, and she was going to get a tag team title match with Jordan, but then she's like, no, I'm going to keep my word and retire, but I got somebody for you. That's when Ellering comes in.
Right.
They become a team. Now, like, whenever they don't succeed, it's sort of Jordan Grace is taking the falls here, but they've been a lot more subtle with it than normal. Normally, how the cliche pro wrestling goes. It's like, oh, you bumped into me accidentally because someone pushed you and now I hate you type thing, So they haven't been doing any of that, but they have been sort of building to a thing where it's like, this is all Jordan Grace's fault. And Rachel Ellering's very understanding about it, but Jordan Grace is probably a little bit self-conscious about it. So they're doing all this more subtle stuff than pro wrestling is want to do. But then here it's like they just
about it. She's not self-conscious about it, bro. She getting it out there.
As, I'm just saying the character.
I gotta say one thing that we talked about earlier with forgive me, she was dressed like Disney gimmick. Kimberly with Rachel Ellering, she showed up kind of soft too, but she's already getting in better shape. You know what I mean? She knows that this is she probably got the call and wasn't over prepared, ready to fucking rock and roll. But now that she's on there, you can see she's working her ass off. And that also motivates the office to go, she's trying to make the most of the chance we're giving her. Let's keep pushing her. Whereas somebody who hasn't changed, that's a tough look, man. It just shows, you know.
So while I have you here, that's another consistent theme that I've talked about. So I want to get your take on it. So Rachel Ellering is fat. She has a gut. There's no other way to say it.
Me too.
But that's okay. You wear a shirt. My point is for some reason, like you look at a Jordan Grace, you see what she's wearing. She's got a singlet, right? So like for her, that works because that's what she wants to show off the arms and legs, you know, but anything else, maybe not. So like, so there's that. But a lot of women, they go like their gear is basically looks like a bikini, right? Or some people will wear something that's like the full long tights and then just the bra thing on top.
But really they're wearing nude tights underneath as well.
Yeah. So I'm saying like you're covering up everything except your flabby stomach. Like, why not? Like, why do they feel the need to do that when singlets exist or when other? Like, I'm always thinking about that. Not just women either. Like, why? Okay, so I was just watching the NWA pay-per-view, and shout outs to JTG and Serena Deeb for killing it on there. Right, When Our Shadows Fall, still available on demand. Yeah. If you're like you're Tyrus, like why do you insist? He is wearing the singlet, but why does he insist on having the bottom part of the trunks part just be so like? Why does he want to show his legs and ass where it looks like he's wearing a diaper or something? Like why is he so insistent on that? Why can't he just extend the tights down like past the crotch area to be like the half short tights? Like why do people just not realize when they're gross? Male or female, I just don't get it. It's always been like a thing. And for people like you who are self-conscious who get it, like you don't want to take off the shirt, even though that would be heat in and of itself. But that's not necessarily the heat that you want. You got enough heat coming from other avenues, right? So you don't need that. But it's like when you have a deficiency and you're trying to get there, you could cover that up. And I made the point that Rosemary, I don't know if she's out of shape or not because she's wearing gear that makes me question, like she could be in shape under that shirt or she could be out of shape under that shirt, but I don't know. So I'm not thinking about it. When Rachel Ellering is covering up like every part of her body except her flabby stomach, then that's like showcasing it. And I don't mind if she's a certain shape or weight because she's a power lifter and I know that, and they're stronger when they're bigger. But I'm just saying, like, why do we have to look at it?
Why make yourself look bad when you have the opportunity right there to make a different choice and be like, I can get there, but right now that's not the first impression I want to give. I totally understand. Maybe somebody told G-Rilla that, you know, he's the next King Kong Bundy and he wanted to get gear like Bundy ever since then. And as a heel, if you do have big, fat, flabby thighs or even as a baby, I guess, is Rikishi, and you're going to show them off and make it part of your finish in some way. Then
that was a gimmick. Rikishi's gimmick was a gimmick.
Right. But even Yoko with his giant ass and cellulite wore the full tights. So you could still see through it. But I get what you're saying to like not have that kind of heat because people do like when he was Funkasaurus or G-Rilla or Tyrus or Fox News, but there's maybe some gear choices that could be a better choice for him. But with the girls, you know, were they going to be in G-string, Spanx, and a bra to cover to suck it in, ladies? But I agree with that because she is attractive. She is a dominant female, bigger woman body type who is athletic, but we can't just come out there for the tape trader masturbators in our fucking sports bra top, midriff showing, and tight yoga pants because that's what's in fashion across the board. Like, but then again, you also don't have a gear maker there on call 24/7 to whip me up something, honey, for 3 days from now to make sure I look good going on TV. So that's the shoestring budget trying to come off as a fucking, empire, man. But it's really held together with bubblegum and mirrors.
Yeah, that's true. Well, all I'm saying to everybody out there is like, not everybody has to be the shredded B12. Like, there's room for all different types.
I'm on B12. I got buy one get one free B12.
Yeah, you can get that over the counter, man. But so not everybody has to be that. And I understand everybody can't get in shape overnight, but you also don't get fat overnight. So just keep in mind, like, when you're in a cosmetic business, that there are ways, like, if Rachel Ellering is fine with the way she looks, and I assume she is, because if you notice when she has her matches, how guys will be, guys that have been completely shredded have always done this too. Like Lex Luger, like, if you notice when he's selling and he's like pulling his trunks up over his lower abs, like, dude, no one thinks you're fat. What are you doing, bro? But that probably says maybe he was fat at one time when he was a kid or something, and he's always self-conscious about it. If anybody doesn't need to worry about their abs, it's Lex Luger, but he would always do that, and lots of guys do it. Roman Reigns, whatever. But
first of all, you're an asshole if you're fucking with your tights when you're on the cell for my heat. So
of course, that's a whole different conversation we don't have time to get into. But I'm just saying, like, but Rachel never adjusts her tights. She just lets it flop out and everything. She never tries to pull them up. Even people that are in shape and like they just get they get gear and it doesn't fit right. Like, how many times does Shayna Baszler adjust her tights? And it's like, just get a new seamstress that knows how to, get clothes that fit you. Anyways, this is way too long of a sidebar. Let's move on to a Violent by Design sort of vignette pre-tape thing. They're cutting a promo on Kojima here. So do you like these Violent by Design things? I'm assume you do.
Yeah, I enjoy Violent by Design. I like the big dude who looks like Magnum TA. I've been a Eric fan for a while, and even though they didn't use him that to his potential in WWE, unfortunately, he's got something here. Rhino's as legit of an ass they come, you know what I mean? And they're made. So I think that's a good crew of guys to have to put heat on somebody, and then they're kind of swimming for some type of heat here. So I thought it set things in motion for a story that I wasn't aware of. Not watching the past couple of weeks, it did all the business I needed it to do.
Okay. So they're getting ready for a Joe Doring versus Eddie Edwards.
Right.
Edwards is also the name of a company that makes delicious pies that you can get at your grocery store, which also evoke Eddie's body fat percentage.
Yeah, that's weird, man. Like, because, Eddie's become Dreamer. Dreamer's kind of passed the torch to him. And we're going to be on the show. We're going to be on the show in 2CW reunion this fall. And I just saw Davey come back to the Indies and win
MLW, right?
And dude, Davey has been training his ass off. He's been working on becoming a doctor and everything else, man, and like fully focused. And I'm not saying that Eddie's lazy, but Eddie and Davey as the Wolves were an athletic package.
Sure.
When you bring him back, dude, there's no way Eddie can get in the shape that he needs to in time before that. So it's going to be like, when you put them together, what happened? You know what I mean? And Eddie's been more active on the road, which means he should have the better body. And Davey's coming back going to look like fucking chiseled out of stone. So that's going to be a weird fucking thing. And the 2CW crowd might get a "you fat fuck" chant going for Eddie, but he'll play right into it. You know what I mean? And it'll be a good rib between them. But they love Eddie Edwards there. But that was just something in my mind when you said that. I was like, I don't mind a older, thick Eddie, because he always looked like kind of like the paper boy to me, like, you know what I mean? Like even the video game paper boy, like I imagine Eddie Edwards was the dude. But now he's like Boston scumbag, Southie, you know what I mean, to some degree.
Yeah. Well, Tommy Dreamer Jr. It is. So here's something else new. A DQ on one of those leg grabs by Diener. I've never seen that one before. Like referee really not too lenient with these rules here, so that's cool. Then of course that breaks down into a thing, and then Kojima hits the ring and helps out. And if you're wondering why a 4-on-2 situation was staved off by 2 guys, it's really only a 3-on-2 because Eric Young's still injured. That's why he's not participating in this stuff. Yeah, so here's Kojima, and this is part of the New Japan Talent Exchange. But here's the deal: Kojima is a legend, sort of, in wrestling, especially in New Japan. He's got a lot of accomplishments, but he's 50. He's not like, this is the end of his career. In New Japan, he's at the level of like, I'm a name to help the talent get over, because their structure is you start out on the bottom losing, you get however far you're going to get in your
career of there.
Kind of, yeah, and they all are, because that's your career path. Once you get to a certain age, then you start doing the favors for everybody else that you did, and that's ironclad, and it doesn't matter who you are, which is one of the cool things about it. But the problem here is that New Japan, I see they're giving a name to Impact to create interest, because they're trying to protect the guys that people in the States would really be interested in seeing. They're not going to send an Okada over here. They're not going to send a Naito over here. They're not going to send a Jay White over here. They're not going to send their good guys here. They're going to send the older guys. And that's not really what people want. That'd be like trying to entice somebody to get back into watching Monday Night Raw and saying, we got Jeff Hardy, like, you remember him, like, this isn't,
they did it last week, so don't say no, because he went over on Elias out of a cold match out of nowhere. So,
well, who hasn't gone over on Elias? Let's be serious. but I mean, you're not gonna get the Jeff Hardy you expect to get if you tuning in after 20 years. You're gonna be like, who is this guy?
He lost a step. But I think this is the good brother with fucking Callis and Khan there opening up the doors, and those guys are marks for that era, and the diehards that we named earlier that are watching Impact and not the fair weather fan who are wanting to see the top guys with fucking, Switchblade Bullet or whatever the fuck they're nicknaming themselves there now, to like, what was they had Yuji Nagata, right, on fucking AEW. So,
another 50-plus guy.
Right, but that was a great match, and that was a dude I knew from the ECW days when the door was open. So I see where they're going with that, so I might have to disagree and say the Nostalgia Japan guys being there may be a bigger draw than going for the New Japan diehard audience that are up on the Will Ospreay crowd as far as longevity and doing a favor that was like, the door is open, and the vets are going to take the fucking spot to go to America and get the paycheck before the dudes leaving Japan who probably want to go to get that exposure, but they're going to take that one more go round. I feel like there's a little more political in here mixed than there is with like what's best for business. You know what I'm saying?
Well, the politics come from New Japan's side, because they're not going to jeopardize, not only forget about doing jobs or anything like that. They're not going to want one of their top guys to come over here and potentially get hurt working with these fucking backyard wrestlers.
Yeah, I agree.
So I mean, and they have the history of not wanting to work with Impact because of the way they handled talent that was supposed to be on excursion in the past. And it's just a very, like, it's a cautious relationship.
Ooh,
and
I feel fucking super bad for the Yakuza.
Well, it's the Yakuza, and they're owned by a company that like makes like collectible trading cards and stuff. So it's like it'd be like Toys R Us buying the WWE or something. But I'm just saying, like, it's New Japan also has to run their own shows concurrently. So they can afford to give up a 50-year-old man and not the guys that they're hoping to draw the houses for the shows that they're going on tour right now.
Sure.
So that's all part of it.
Hey,
but,
send your 50-year-olds. I'll beat the shit out of them.
yeah. Luckily, I mean, I like Kojima, and I think people will be happy that he's here, and he's a good worker. Like in terms of like actual working, he definitely fits America because he's not going to stiff anybody. This is like, he's almost too soft. I think he needs to toughen up on these kids, but you know, regardless, he's a cool guy. So we'll see. He's going to have a match with Doring, and that's the big deal. Supposedly they
Doring showed good intensity. Doring showed good intensity as they had to flee as chicken shit heels, but like make it our time, like classic cliche. But what was coming through the camera was solid enough for what I would have wanted as a second or third tier business. I thought it worked.
Sure. So we're probably about 75% or a little bit more through both of the shows, whether we're talking about Impact or our own review of Impact. And finally, Moose shows up. Like the Impact attack is also known as the Moose because it's all Moose all the time here from me and Colin. And this is like 2 weeks in a row that he shows up towards the end for the first time. It's a vignette where Moose basically says he's going to win. So I have a note here to ask you about Hamlet 2. Have you ever seen the movie Hamlet 2?
No, I haven't seen Hamlet 2.
Okay. Are you at least vaguely aware of it or the premise?
Is it Hamlet the musical part 2?
Yes, it's a movie with Steve Coogan where he adapts like lame cliche popular movies into stage plays.
Okay.
And it's kind of like a Rushmore thing, to be honest. Okay, so he decides to come up with a sequel to Hamlet, and everybody's like, well, everybody died. So, you know, so it's
okay.
It's a great movie, but he tells a story in which, he's always talking about how he's a big mark for Elizabeth Shue. And then there's a scene where Elizabeth Shue is in the movie as herself. She's working at like a hospital, maybe as a receptionist or so. I don't remember exactly what it was. And he's asking her a question, and she's like talking to him like a normal person. And then he's just sitting there like this. And then as soon as she's done, he's like, I'm sorry, I didn't hear a word you just said because I can't believe I'm talking to Elizabeth Shue. Right. So that's basically how it is for me and Colin whenever Moose is on the screen. That's the context for this.
I feel kind of some kind of way because last time I managed him, he turned on me and speared the shit out of me, Moose.
Well, whatever his motivations were, I'm sure he was right to do it.
First he took out the guys that I wanted him to. Then he took out me. Then he took out the referees. So there was no stopping him that night.
Oh yeah, well in that case, yeah, that's equal opportunity. That's
yeah.
We're all
I didn't take it personal, I guess, as I should have.
Right. So Colin and I must be rubbing off on D'Lo Brown too, because he lets out a barrage of Moose during the on-cam rundown part 2. He's Moose, which that's our gimmick. So somebody's listening.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Moose. We got Moose. He's gonna take on Kenny Omega in a singles match. I was sure that they were going to shoehorn Sami Callihan into this and get the belt on him somehow, because I just won't believe that they're going to pull the trigger on Moose until I see it with my own eyes. There's got to be a reason they've been holding him back as long as they have when they have so much inferior talent there. And I just never believe that they're going to make the right decisions for business, especially when we're talking about Impact here. So I'm very surprised they're still going with a singles match. But here we are. So we got this. Now, this is the question. They're saying the match is going to be at Daly's place. Does that mean we're going to have a whole pay-per-view in the Impact Zone and then do like a remote, like we're going to watch TV type thing? Like as if this was a real audience.
Main event. I'd make it a main event on Dynamite. You know what I mean? That's what I would do.
But they want to set, but it's going to be for the Against All Odds. It is going to be that.
Yeah.
So it's not a question of what you would do now. It's too late. They've already booked it. But I'm just saying, how are they going to shoot it? Are they going to have the whole pay-per-view at Daly's place, or are they just going to do that one match? Or is it going to be like a football field match where they just go there and there's nobody there, like an empty arena, just like Or would they, since they are letting fans in, are they going to, this is, I got a
think
lot of questions they didn't really answer.
I think they're going to tape it at dailies and play it on Impact, and it'll get spoiled beforehand from the live crowd being there. But that'll be the look of it. You know what I mean?
Okay. All right.
Moose, beyond blue chip athlete, and the work he's put in the B12 he's on, unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Yeah. You know. Yeah, believe it, because he's here.
Him versus Lashley is where the money is.
Whose money? Like we're not gonna get. We can't even get some
NBC's money.
We can't even get Brock and Lashley.
Saudi's money. That's who.
Oh yeah, Saudi's gonna pony up for 2 black dudes.
Possibly, if you tell them one is fucking Tiny Lister and the other guy is
Junkyard Dog.
Your Junkyard Dog. Yeah, that's all. Oh yeah, this is my favorites.
Yes. So our main event here is Willie Mack versus W. Morrissey. And you want to talk about B12. You can definitely see it. You can see it all over his shoulders, his back, his chest, his face.
How you doing?
Yeah, how you doing? So here, a little backstory for you, Ben. So at Under Siege, they had like a back and forth 10-minute regular match. And at the time when I was covering this, I said that Morrissey should have just run Mac over and caught him with something early, off guard, and then just beat the shit out of him for maybe a minute, if that, but just something like really quick and decisive. But I gave him the benefit of the doubt because I didn't know what the creative is. Now that I see that the creative is just have a rematch on your TV show a couple weeks later, they definitely should have done what I said. Yeah. Because now you've just basically watched the same thing twice, which there's no reason to see. This didn't end any differently than it did the first time. So now you just watch the same kind of thing. And Willie Mack already got in the offense in the first match too. So there's really, you're not leaving anything for anybody to desire here. There's no anticipation here. It's just a repeat. And so that's where they really could have, benefited from that. People would have been maybe complained about that, like I wouldn't call it a squash. I would call it like a fluke. Like you're not going to get over on Willie Mack like that 10 times out of 10, maybe 1 time out of 10.
Right.
But you don't show them all 9 times in a row just to get to that 10th time. You have to, so that's
trying to build the other guy as a psychopath, unstable killer. You got to have him take him down, put the chair on his head, stomp it 1 time. No, don't curb stomp him and fucking boom. That's it. Right. Like, let him sell that he knocked his teeth out, have some chiclets, whatever. I don't give a fuck. But like, it should have been fast with him up strong to be like, who's next? Because him versus Willie Mack, there's not a lot of heat in there. And then him with Swan coming down and all that other shit, dude, like, which we already knew was going to happen. He should have just laid him out in 2.2 as well, and we really should have made him. We had the chance to make Morrissey into Psycho Sid, and every minute that this went past 90 seconds, the level of fucking intensity in making him went down, man. Absolutely. It should have been beating or quick like fucking Willie ain't scared, boom, something devastating happens, keep him down, put the beating on him, and then one extreme act of violence where, no, don't do it, you motherfucker, does it. Here comes Swan to check, give him the sky high, leave him laying, and maybe do the exact same act of violence, whatever the new concerto is, to him too. Fucking, Sid's on his own. But we didn't get that. We got way too long. So by the time Swan runs in, Morrissey feels like the same size as Swan. And that's the last thing we want them to feel. We want to feel that this guy who's a giant, who's on the gas, who's an ex-WWE guy, is here to be the fucking top guy. Well, a top guy wouldn't take that long to beat Willie Mack with weapons, bro. A top guy would have it done in 2 minutes. So
yeah, that's why I probably would have just went with, for this rematch, I probably just went with Willie. Cass slips over because he, gets his bearings finally and gets like, because there's weapons, it could be something on hand. Boom, one shot. You know, it's real easy stories to tell. But
Willie's
you know,
in the ring, first one, he blasts Kaz in the head.
Right.
Kaz is on the cell around the ring, chase him around, post, fucking boom, boom, all the way around, get him back in there, even get on him again with some non-weapon offense until it's one time when Willie misses, Kaz gets up and can fucking give it back to him, bro. And that's it, right? Like in the rematch of what we already saw. So,
but what do we know, Ben? We don't know what we're talking about.
I don't know shit. I just ask Power and he tells me what's right.
That's pretty much it. Yeah. Well, he would tell these guys to do a 2-hour Broadway, but we definitely don't want that either. But yeah, so yeah, we get the security coming down, the ones that are budgeted for this set of tapings that weren't there at the last set of tapings. No security at all. They realized that was probably an oversight.
They learned.
Yeah, cut the light bill and hire some security.
You can either have lights or you can have fucking security. You can't.
That's right.
You got to choose one.
Right. So one thing they did that was cool a couple weeks ago or whatever, when Cass was doing a sit down and they had Swan brush in and punch him in the face a few times while he's sitting down, and then security was immediately there to break it up so it doesn't look ridiculous of why this tiny man, you know, is getting over on this big guy. But that's where you are the same size when he's sitting down in a chair, and then you jump on him and get pulled off. So it's like that kind of stuff you have to, you know, those are the things that's like, I see them look at that in certain ways, and then you look at the incompetence sprinkled throughout the rest of the show, and you have to wonder, is like, are they just a broken clock right twice a day thing where they're just getting lucky accidentally doing things right?
Is this show piecemealed together from extra parts of other shows with extra matches and things like that?
Yeah. Are they doing a bunch of tapings and they just tape things however they tape them and then cut it together in the editing room later? Or
yes.
But even so, that's like, that's still a taped thing that they shot versus other taped things that they shot. Right. So no matter how you edit it, it's still what you have on tape. So somebody still told him, hey, you got to get on him real quick and get off before he's a giant and kills you. So like, somebody's smart, but I bet
they're also running on this level of budget of, we have 4 or 5 days of tapings. Are we going to bring Havoc in for 5 days and put her up the whole time? Or are we going to get her for day 1 and 2, get these 3-4 matches done and taped so we have some for filler and we have 2 in her storyline? We're going to bring Cass in for 1 day because it costs too much to book her for 2-3 days to do all that. And then we'll get all this and then try and piecemeal it together later. And we're missing that flow. I don't know if that's the way it's going or not, but as a producer trying to save budget and keep the doors open, that very well could be, couldn't it, Vet? And you'll see the creative suffer a little bit because maybe only the lighting guys are there on the Friday for the big storylines, but on Monday, Tuesday, when we just happen to have this idea to tape this vignette, the guys weren't there for the same continuity.
Yeah, I don't know. Those are questions that are very interesting to me to know the answers, but at the same time, you know, for these podcasts, I just kind of have to talk about it like what I'm seeing in front of me.
Right, you have to. I'm trying to look at it too of like, there's 1,000 reasons of the casual viewer who doesn't know about the politics, the bullshit, and trying to keep a visual of, hey, we're on TV. Meanwhile, we could be canceled at any time. Dude, I hate to say this because a lot of our good brothers and sisters, it was like the OVW class of 2005 reunion at that NWA pay-per-view. But, dude, they had 500 buys. I think 5,000 is rock bottom minimum that they can go. So what's everybody thinking there when 500 buys at $20 a piece is $10,000 possible profit at the end of the day, plus whatever you have to spend that. Dude, they had people there for 3-4 days. Billy must have lost 80 grand out of pocket, bro. So how many times is he going to do that before he pulls the trigger unless we have Netflix behind us with a sponsor that can take care of all this? He's not going to keep coughing up 100 grand for a 4-day taping that can only draw 500 buys on the pay-per-view. That's the quickest way to go out of business, you know? So either things are going to change on that roster and you're going to see it streamlined from a lot of big paydays, or we got to have a whole new distribution plan. My point is, though, you want to have this one vision, but then when the numbers and the dollars and cents come in, everything gets fucking switched around. But you still want to have that out-facing look. But that's when talent doesn't get paid on time, and lighting guys don't get paid on time, and web guys definitely weren't paid on time and had to threaten with lawyers and shit like that until we get our money, man. So it could be all those little factors that a viewer never would even think of, but one of the boys knows that's how it's going down. But I agree, you have to look at it as just like, why is the continuity not there in the show as an average viewer?
Yeah. I try to just focus on the things that are fixable without throwing money at it. And that's the best I can say, because it's all about perception, right?
What did they pump for the pay-per-view? It's future endeavor season. You never know who's going to show up. So now they're going to throw money at talent and not the quality of the show overall in hopes to pump that way. Meanwhile, your diehards who've been there having their backs broken are going to be like, what the fuck? They're showing up. Murphy's coming in for the main event. Like, what's that going to do to your locker room? You know what I mean? So,
well, it's not going to do anything to your bottom line to bring Murphy in. I can tell you that right now. But yeah, I mean, that's, and the other obvious thing, the elephant in the room about these type of digital distribution models and everything like that is the piracy. Who knows how much money could be made if there were honest, if more honest people. I made it a point to say, personally, to both Jay and Serena, that I learned from Luthez that the greatest compliment a worker can ever pay to another worker is to buy a ticket to see him. So I'm going to be buying that NWA pay-per-view because that's what I think of them. And I encourage anybody that you feel like that about to do the same. I mean, of course, you can all steal it. I think you could steal a pay-per-view, or you could drop the Starbucks coffee for one day and help somebody out and see if that, if you feel any better about it. But we always just take our entertainment for granted, and we're entitled. And I know I'm talking to the wrong guy, but I'm just, I'm not necessarily speaking to you or trying to preach to you, Ben. I'm just talking to the other people that just remember that they're all counting on us for a living, and it's so easy to just tune in and watch something. I'm not going to sit there and say I bought that.
That's the show
that Paul and Mayweather fight, but
that's the show that's not burning their audience and actually providing things formatted the right way to have an experience. But people aren't buying it because the other ones have burned us so many times. But as HMG, Russo brand loyalists or wrestling loyalists, I think we should take up the charge for NWA. And even if it is a campaign of buy one and get one for your friend too, to be like, these are the people who've been effed over by the business who are trying to do things the right way and preserve a legacy. Diehard wrestling fans, let's blow the horn together and fucking say this is what we're getting behind to make sure that we can preserve having that. You know what I mean? As opposed to, see, I said they couldn't fucking draw. No, here's our chance to say, let's help those motherfuckers draw, man, and really get over. We love Mickey James. People don't want to fucking see her shit get sent to her in a fucking garbage bag. Well, let's go to war and say, not only are we going to help us buy one, but how can we help NWA sell 4 more pay-per-views? Each of us make people involved so we can make sure things are going on for the future. Because, dude, Timmy Baltimore's there, Velvet Sky, beautiful people, Serena, Genocide, who's on Light the Fuse. These are our people. You know what I mean? Idol Stevens, Damian Sandow, whatever you want to call him, JTG, absolutely, and the Pope. Come on, man, that's our fucking squad. So I'm really seeing this, even though it's not good news at that low of a buy rate. I see this as an opportunity for HMG and Russo brand to be like, fuck that. We got your back. We're going to take up the torch for you guys, and we're going to show you that we got power with our loyal fan base to help you guys move the needle. And who knows what goodwill comes of that from Billy, man. So I think we need to use our power for good on this one, Vet.
Yep, that's all we can do. Well, I think that wraps up our show. We're heading into, I guess it's tomorrow now, the pay-per-view that's, I guess it's not named after a Steven Seagal movie of some sort, so that's cool. But But like 2 weeks from now, it'll probably be like, the Glimmer Man for $6.99 in Impact Plus. I got to think about getting that Impact Plus app too, because not only can I watch all these great pay-per-views, but I can go back and watch another great ex-football player who's revolutionary, the Alpha Male, Monty Brown. And go back and watch all those old, those old Asylum episodes too. So
he got over, man. He got over with the pounce and all that shit, dude.
And you saw that thing he did for Lance Archer, right, on Twitter, like a couple year ago or so. He's still got it. So yeah. But anyways, yeah, that's it. And I guess we'll just get on out of here. Ben, tell the people what's going on. Everything, obviously. You're not too busy, right, Ben? You don't have much going on,
I'll be back today, actually, to do Light the Fuse. I got to watch AEW in the morning and then go buy carpeting and then do Larry Hankins editing and then put this up there. So plenty of work on the weekend as usual, me, Future, and Drake. But I appreciate everybody doing patreon.com/Hamin Media Group. You guys have been great supporters there for all these shows. But mainly I want to say a huge congratulations and all my love to Big Ray and Jen as they're getting married today. And that's yes. Colin and his lovely bride are up there to have a good time. Billy Ray Valentine is the best man. So it's a family affair, man. I wish I could be there, but we got to fill in and do what we got to do to keep everything running here. So I hope they have a wonderful time. And I know they're going to have a great time in Dominican on their honeymoon, but I just wanted to give all my love to my former Impact Attack co-host. And now we host the Next Level podcast, but Vet, it's always a great time, man, going back and forth with you. I'm so glad to have more veteran OVW talent, guys I know that are cut from the same cloth as me, reviewing these shows with a critical eye. And, obviously you got all the opinions to be had, man. You didn't follow him at Opinion Haver on Twitter. I'm at Ben_Hamin. And you guys are the diehards. You know where it's going. Locked down here, twitch.tv/Hamin Media, Ben Hamin YouTube channel, prowrestlingtees.com/Ben Hamin. And I'll be in Toms River, New Jersey, June 19th at the big action sports complex there for with Jesus Christ, Titan Championship Wrestling, infidels. So it's time to slap some faces and beat the shit out of people once again, Vet.
Yes, and speaking of that, as far as us as a tag team, you can probably look forward to me again for Next Level because Ray will still be gone, and I'll be happy to slide right into his seat. So if you enjoyed this, get ready for more. We can really tear it up on some NXT talent.
This past week, great, all the way through the way it was booked, format, everything was really hitting except for Ted DiBiase's promo. I felt bad for him the last 2 weeks. They've led up to it as like his big time to talk, and he's kind of botched it both times. But what's he care? He's $1 million man.
They probably just figured like, oh, he's got it. It's Ted DiBiase, exactly. One of the greatest promo men of all time. Like, and sometimes you do gotta, but that's okay, man. Look, you got it's good in a way because it's like that's where. When we've got the big discussion between scripted promos and letting people go off on the fly, and seeing somebody like fall down a little bit like that's a legend, lets people know that, hey, sometimes there's a reason why we script certain things for certain people, but it also lets people know like it should also be like, hey, look, Ted DiBiase, he goes out there and he's not perfect, so that should give them the motivation to be like, I can go out there and do something on the fly too. And if it doesn't get over, oh well, it's not the end of the show. There's whatever they actually write down is probably going to be worse. So it's better sometimes to just go out there and flounder a little bit, and that's your motivation to come back next time and keep practicing, keep doing those promos in the mirror like we talk about. Those are the things, like anybody that's just gets success after success, what are they really learning?
Right, exactly. There's only one way to learn, and that's the hard way through the failures, man. You listen to your mentors, but it's not until you apply that information and feel when it works or feel why it doesn't work that you need to make that adjustment. And I like talking about all that with the developmental side, and hopefully Impact can still kick around here. Hopefully Moose does something being in Daly's place to draw some eyes back, and they do some business that way to keep the product going forward, man. Because we need as many places as possible for people to be seeing and earning paychecks. And we're going to do everything we can. But it's been a great Impact Attack, Vet, and I look forward to next week, man. Hopefully you guys have a great party this weekend, and we'll be around for all the watch-alongs, hanging and banging. You know where to find us, Infidels. Hacker Hamin, the Vet. It's the Army of Two back here at your Impact Attack, Infidels. YOLO!